Gwyn's got his thumb up, so that's great. Going on to agenda item 6, this is a reference from Corporate Performance and Resources, and this is the Vale Glamorgan Polling District and Places Review 2023. I'm just pulling that report up. If you click on the wrong top, suddenly it vanishes. So this matter, the Polling District and Places Review 2023 was reported to Corporate Performance and Resources on the 15th of November, and a range of comments made during the Scrutiny Committee focused around the geography of polling districts themselves rather than the actual stations, and in particular polling districts in Cowbridge, which will be considered in due course. It was felt, really it's probably sensible to look at the ongoing the outcome of the ongoing community review before considering any minor changes to the makeup of polling districts. And I would therefore recommend that we note the comments of Scrutiny Committee in relation to the polling districts themselves, pending the outcome of that community review being undertaken. As a separate matter, in looking at the polling stations, then there were comments submitted by Councillor Ernest regarding a lack of a polling station in the actual Plymouth ward in Penarth, in polling districts JEO and JFO. And a request was made to assess whether there were any options that could be included in lieu of stations at Stanwell Road Baptist Church and All Saints Church, both of which are actually very close to the boundary of Plymouth ward, but not actually in the ward. So the matter was reported to Scrutiny Committee, Corporate Performance and Resources on the 15th of November, when the point was made that despite best endeavours, an alternative couldn't actually be found, and therefore the status quo would remain. And this was particularly the case when looking for stations at the Esplanade end of the ward. However, subsequently, we've established that the Windsor Bowling Club in Robinswood Crescent is an option. And having discussed the matter with the club, we feel that we can now move forward with this as an option. And I'd be very supportive. I don't have to declare an interest, but my parents were both very strong members of that bowling club. It's a super place and very accessible. So accordingly, when the matter is coming to Cabinet, a recommendation could be made to the effect that for the Plymouth ward, the following arrangements are proposed. Hang on, let's just get round to the... paper. So the arrangements were discussed that the Lower Penarth Community Hall will continue to serve polling district JJO, that Courterville Community Centre continues to serve polling district JKO, that Windsor Bowling Club will become a new polling station to serve polling district JFO, lying immediately adjacent to the polling district and the polling district JEO, that Stanwell Road Baptist Church continues to serve polling district JDO for St Augustine's only, and this previously has been used as a double station for St Augustine's and Plymouth wards. That All Saints Church Hall will continue to serve polling districts LAO, and that's for Stanwell only. And again, this previously has been used as a double station, serving both Stanwell and Plymouth wards. So that appears to be a sensible move, because it gives a better spread of polling stations, which all lie within the ward. This matter will ultimately go to council for a final decision, and in any event, polling stations are kept under constant review. I think what I would say is, while I'm totally supportive of the use of Windsor Bowling Club as a polling station, I think we have to keep it under review because the access to public transport is probably better in the existing polling stations than it is in the bowling station. So we bowling club, but we have to see how that suits local people best. So in light of that, I have a number of recommendations. Did Mark want to come in? Before or after recommendations?
Can I just come in just now, if that's okay? For some reason, okay, so there's a couple of points I'd like to make. First of all, I think we also got to think about transport accessibility, and I think that's important. Also, I think it's important that any polling station that we have is fully accessible, and I think that is really important as well going forward there. So thank you.
That's gone off again. Right. Thanks, Mark. Yes, it's very important that our polling stations are accessible, and I said that's from the actual buildings themselves, but also in terms of things like transport opportunities. So they will be kept under review. So I've got 3 recommendations for us today. The first one, that the report before Cabinet is referred on to Council on the 4th of December as an urgent item, whilst recognising that the matter has already been to scrutiny. That Cabinet resolves to note the comments of Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee, while acknowledging that any changes to actual polling districts in advance of the outcome of the ongoing community review would be premature, and that in referring the matter to Council on the 4th of December, attention is drawn to the amended arrangements for Plymouth Ward as set out. And I think I need to add an extra recommendation onto that in terms of 1514, the urgency procedure, so that this report can go to Council in time for Monday's meeting. Yeah, I'm being nodded at. Excellent. So with that, I'll move those.
I'll second those for the record.
Thank you. Let's take that one down. And then we are... Oh, sorry, Eddie, you wanted to come in.
Sorry, Leader, I was preempting the next item. My apologies.
So shall I introduce you then?
Thank you, Leader.
Thanks. Great. So we're on to agenda item 7, and that's corporate parenting panel minutes of the 11th of September. And so as chair of that committee, I'm handing over to Councillor Eddie Williams.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, you can see this. We've got the minutes before us, and it's interesting. They're quite brief, the minutes, but that's how we want them. But I'd just like to give a quick overview on them. One of the things that was discussed was the corporate parenting charter, which is listed from the last government, and it's talking about authorities signing up to a charter to provide a better, improve or a set standard of care for corporate parenting. There was a questionnaire that the panel discussed. We went through several questions, and these included: did we have a strategy? Do we have action plans? And do we report on the number of children we have within the authority? And so that response has gone back, and we're waiting with that response. But also, the Welsh Government are working on some guidance, which will come out. From what we can see from the questions that were asked, the authority is in a strong position in being able to record where it stands and the provision of care that we give. The other item that was discussed was school attendance, and clearly that's hitting the headlines at the moment, particularly with there has been a difficulty with many children going back to school. Attendances are lower. From the report from the officer, it was clear that we've got one school which has got lower attendance, but it was clear there was a lot of complexity to that. And but on the whole, it was really interesting to hear of all the different agencies that are involved, just trying to get our children back in. And there's a lot of good work that's going on. And in spite of the challenges, that we could see that we're faring in a better place than many other authorities. And then on the report, you'll see there's a breakdown of the number of children we look after. It's still crept up, still high from pre-COVID, but again, the authority have been able to manage that work at the moment, and so we're in a good place. Unless I've got any questions, Leader, I'd like to move those minutes. Thank you.
I can't see anybody indicating, so I'm happy to second that, Eddie. And we don't have any dissent, so that's agreed. So, agenda item 8 is fairly well a housekeeping report. It's the use of Chief Executive's emergency powers, and this is outlining the use of emergency powers since the 21st of December. Again, fairly straightforward use of emergency powers, either to accept grants, as in the case of funding for additional learning needs, or I'm trying to look at ones that cabinet members might not want to talk about. Service level agreement between the Vale of Glamorgan Council and the County Council of Cardiff, to in effect share our monitoring officer currently, and moving forward, or accepting grants, etc. So they are fairly straightforward, and I would move that the use of the Chief Executive's emergency powers be noted.
And I'll second those, Leader.
Super. Everyone's happy with that. Great. So on, just trying to be able to manipulate the agenda. Right. Agenda item 9 is nominations to roles of independent board member representing local authorities to the Cardiff and Vale University Health Board, and also to the National Joint Committee, the National Adoption Service and Foster Wales. We had received a formal request from the chair of Cardiff and Vale University Health Board for Vale of Glamorgan Council to make nominations for the role of independent board member representing local authorities on the Cardiff and Vale UHB, now that the former independent board member had completed their term of office. As a second request had been received from Foster Wales regarding an invitation for nominations to the National Joint Committee for the National Adoption Service and Foster Wales. So in terms of suitable nominations with the depth of experience that's required for such responsible roles, we would recommend that we put forward a single nomination to the University Health Board for the vacancy there of Councillor Susan Lloyd Selby, who has a wealth of experience, whether that be in social care, commissioning, care, poverty, cost of living crises, etc., to the University Health Board, and that in terms of the National Adoption Service in Foster Wales, the Joint Committee rather, we would nominate Councillor Eddie Williams, who is currently our cabinet member responsible for social care and health, who again has huge expertise and a depth of understanding of the area. So the recommendations for us would be that Councillor Susan Lloyd-Selby be the Vale of Glamorgan Local Authority nomination for the role of independent board member on Cardiff and Vale University Health Board. 2, that subject to recommendation 1, that the associated CV and personal statement for Councillor Lloyd-Selby stating how they meet the person specification for the role be submitted to the Cardiff and Vale University Health Board before the 15th of December closing date. And 3, that Councillor Eddie Williams be the Vale of Glamorgan Local Authority nomination to National Joint Committee for the National Adoption Service and Foster Wales. And finally, 4th, that subject to recommendation 3, that Foster Wales be provided with the details of the nomination before the 8th of December 2023 closing date in order to proceed with setting up an inaugural meeting. And so I have to add a 5th recommendation in relation to the use of the urgency procedure, section 1514, to enable both of those to be completed by the deadline. And I'd move. Oh, sorry, Eddie, you wanted to come in.
No, it's, I just wanted to say thank you for your confidence in my ability to represent the authority on the Joint Committee. But I would like to add that I'm really pleased that Susan Selby-Lloyd is taking on the independent chair of the Health Board. Yes, she's already proven a competence and ability in dealing with health issues, and so I'd really support that. I'd like to second that this part, but obviously I don't want to second myself, so I'll leave that to somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you. So therefore, are we allowed for Eddie to second the first 2 and for someone else to second the second 2? I'm just checking. There's no reason. So yes, we will do that. Before Bronwyn comes in, Mark wants to come in as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to second Eddie. I don't think he should really second himself, but I'm totally supportive of that. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's worth noting that from Eddie's perspective as well, his experience in terms of chairing the Regional Partnership Board as well puts him in a perfect position to bring his talent. We did check with him in advance that he had plenty of time. I don't believe he does, but he can shoehorn it into his existing very, very packed calendar. So, Ruba, you've got your hand up as well.
I was going to second Eddie just to say we have full confidence in him. So you've got a double seconder, Eddie.
I shall leave that to our democratic officers to sort out. We have a multitude of seconders for those appointments. Thank you all. And I take it from that there's no dissent. Super. Right, and then going on to agenda item 10, and that is the draft Vale of Glamorgan Council Annual Delivery Plan 2024-25. And this is a really important document in that we have a corporate plan. We have a corporate plan that's 5 years, and then we have that obviously gets split into 5 annual delivery plans. And they are much more relevant to what's happening at that time. And as we will have seen in previous meetings from that annual delivery plan, we have a self-assessment, and that's how we monitor our performance. So it's really important that we get the annual delivery plan right, so that we then have got something substantial in order to measure how we're doing and to guide our activities, but also our service plans that drop out of it. So this report sets out how the draft annual delivery plan's been developed, the proposed consultation and the timetable for the plan. And it actually talks about the council's 4 wellbeing objectives, and then cross-cutting that is other 3 critical challenges. And as I said, that feeds through into the annual service plans. I can't speak. So the wellbeing objectives, and that's what we've been working to for a while, is to work with and for our communities to support learning, employment and sustainable economic growth, to support people at home and in their community, and to respect, enhance and enjoy our environment. So we have those overall themes, and through the plan we'll see how we intend to deliver those. But then we have the cross-cutting themes. Hang on, I have managed to miss those. The themes of well, critical challenges, I think that we're calling them, is organisational resilience. So do we have the right structure, the right peoples, the right skills to be able to deliver against the many challenges that we're facing? And you know, it's fair to say that those challenges are increasing. So organisational resilience will be massive in relation to that. The cost of living crisis, because that actually puts additional pressures on everything that we do. And we have declared climate and nature emergencies. So we need to be aware and we need to act in terms of delivering zero carbon and also ensuring no net loss of biodiversity. So those all fit together. As members would know, our corporate wellbeing plan actually runs from 2020 to 2025. So at some time in this year, we'll actually be also working on a new corporate plan. So no pressure there. But this annual development plan will be going to all scrutiny committees as part of the programme of consultation. And obviously there'll be wider consultation than just the council. And then it will come back to Cabinet. It will go to Corporate Resource, obviously, and then it will come back to Cabinet to consider a final draft in the fullness of time. So we've got 4 recommendations. I think we'll discuss it an awful lot more in scrutinies, and that's the important place where that should happen. The 4 recommendations are that Cabinet approves the draft annual delivery plan, which is attached to Appendix A as the basis for consultation as described in this report. Secondly, that Cabinet approves the consultation approach and timetable as set out in this report. That Cabinet notes the approach taken to draft the annual delivery plan and the relationship with annual service plans. That Cabinet refers this report to all scrutiny committees as part of the programme of consultation, requesting any comments to be shared with the Director of Corporate Resources to inform revisions to the annual delivery plan prior to Cabinet considering a final draft in due course. And as I said, the consultation timetable is laid out at 2.17, which runs through from today right through till March 2024, when Council will consider it. So I'm happy to move those recommendations.
And I'll second those recommendations.
Thank you. And we don't have any comments. Everybody is in agreement. Thank you. Then agenda item 11 is for the Cabinet Member for Education, Arts and Welsh Language, and that is School Admission Arrangements 2025-26.
Thank you. The Schools Admission Code Wales July 2013 states that admission arrangements must be consulted on for each maintained school between the 1st of September and the 1st of March, and to be set by April of the school years beginning 2 years before the school year in which the arrangements will apply. Therefore, this report is presented to approve consultation on school admission arrangements for pupil admissions in the academic year 25 to 26. This is required to meet the Council's obligations to annually consult and agree the admission arrangements by no later than the 15th of April 2024. This report includes a proposal to extend the temporary secondary school oversubscription criteria for those pupils on roll at a previous feeder primary secondary school prior to the withdrawal of the feeder school arrangements in September 2020 for a further 2 years, criteria 4 of the secondary school oversubscription criteria. The temporary secondary school oversubscription criteria will cease for the 27-28 academic year. There are no other changes proposed to the school admission arrangements as agreed last year. The consultation period will be the 18th of December this year to the 9th of February 2024, and a report on the outcome will be presented to Cabinet in March 2024. It is recommended Cabinet approve the contents of the report, so I'll go to the recommendations. That we approve the local authority's draft school admission policy, which is Appendix A, for consultation on the local authority admission arrangements for all community schools in the Vale of Glamorgan for the academic year 25 to 26. The outcome of the consultation exercise will be reported to Cabinet in March 24 for consideration and approval of the local authority admission arrangements for the academic year 25-26. I'd like to move that recommendation, please.
Thank you. And I'm happy to second that. I mean, this is a fairly straightforward thing that we do every year. If unless obviously there are absolutely no changes whatsoever, so this is fairly straightforward. Thanks, Rhiannon. Yes, happy to second, and no dissent, so that's agreed. Super. And then on to agenda item 12, the draft tree strategy report. I think it's a much awaited report. So over to the Cabinet Member for, well, actually it's 2 Cabinet Members, it's a joint report. Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services and Sustainable Places. So over to you two.
All right, thank you very much, Chair. Just a few points. Yes, it's this tree strategy has been a long time coming, but I'm really delighted to present it this afternoon. And I'll just go through a few points about it. First of all, I'm going to look at the present system. The present system of tree management is that the council's tree stock is managed using long-standing office procedures, often at mitigating the council third-party risk for damage caused by trees. This includes maintenance work based upon risk and tree planting. At present, this is not coordinated Vale-wide and tend to be driven by individual service departments. This Cabinet report and the accompanying documents propose a draft tree strategy for the council for the next 15 years. This highlights the view that trees need to be considered as assets, as they're used as important elements in the fight against climate change by the absorption of carbon and reduction of contaminants caused by pollution and the wider environment. Also to note that this strategy is what we call inclusive. It's all-encompassing and requires all relevant stakeholders to buy into, not just the internal stakeholders of the council, namely the employees, but also the external stakeholders such as our voluntary sector, members of the public, developers, and of course the private sector. As I've said, that the strategy is in draft format. This does not mean that it's not thorough or rushed. Indeed, this report has gone through many drafts and has been considerable inputs from many officers and external expertise, which we are very grateful for. Attached to this strategy is a technical report, and this incorporates the methodology, a study of tree canopy and ground cover and land use. The report also looks at the benefits of trees, such as it helps reduce the likelihood of flooding by excess surface water runoff, the removal of air pollution, the capturing of carbon, and the enhancement of habitats for our wildlife. So as you can see there, trees are very, very vital. The report also looks in the cost of replacements and the amenity value of trees. This technical report also looks at the condition of our trees and canopy cover, the variety of our trees as well. In fact, they're all detailed in the appendix attached to that technical report. A repeat of this survey is also recommended in it in 10 years' time. Could be a look at a way of how well we have made progress. And I think this is an important thing that we should be doing in 10 years' time, although it's obviously up to the members at that time to do that in 10 years. To ensure that an increase in tree canopy can happen, we need to undergo an analysis where tree planting can occur. And this we need to take into account deprivation of the area, the impact upon trying to reduce air pollution and improve the quality of our green spaces. We also need to consider and increase the amount of tree protection if necessary, and using websites, and this sounds a bit like something from the past in terms of dinosaurs. It's called Treezilla, not Godzilla, but Treezilla, and to keep tracks on the increasing health of the trees, and I think that is very important. Furthermore, community engagement is very important in raising awareness of the importance of trees. We've got many, many groups, including in Penarth. We've got the Tree Forum, for example, and they do some really sterling work in terms of help managing our trees. Finally, trees help to create a sense of place, and I think that is so important. They enhance our well-being and make our towns and villages attractive places to live. And we are very fortunate in the Vale. We have lots of trees, and we want to continue that. The tree strategy itself, which accompanies the report, the technical report, says us why we need a strategy. It sets out aims and objectives, as all strategies do, which includes a net increase of canopy cover over council-owned areas in urban areas by 5% in 2039. It also looks at the policy context, including future generations at 2015, and it looks at the value of trees. It also looks at the assessment of trees. It then looks at an action plan, which is detailed in Appendix 3, and there's an FAQ, a frequent answer questions on trees, which members of the public can look at. The covering report identifies the following recommendations: that Cabinet agrees in principle the Vale Glamorgan Draft Tree Strategy 24-39 attached to Appendix B, that the draft strategy is subject to public consultation for a period of 12 weeks, and we do want to hear the views of these external stakeholders, and I think it's vital that you do have a good input. As part of this consultation process is number 3, the draft strategy is presented to the Environment and Regeneration Strategy Committee for consideration, Scrutiny Committee for consideration and comment, and that's very vital that our scrutiny members have their say in this very important report. That on conclusion of the 12-week conclusion period, the consultation response are then considered back to Cabinet, and the final Vale Glamorgan Tree Strategy 2024 to 2039 as agreed, and so I move.
Thank you, Mark. And
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to second this report. And it's been a long time coming, and a huge amount of work has gone into this report. And there's some really exciting strategic stuff, as we're going forward then. And I think particularly on that placemaking, which is obviously an integral part of my portfolio. So I'm absolutely delighted to second this report, and I really look forward then for those for the end of the consultation period, we get those responses to see what people and organisations actually, for their input in that as well.
super. So that's seconded by. Oh, sorry, Gwyn, you wanted to come in.
Thank you, Leader. I am absolutely delighted to see this report. It's very
Gwyn.
Do you mind?
It doesn't work.
Oh.
It's not working. Just flashing green.
Hang on, we'll just sort it.
Just flashing.
Put the card in.
Hang on, I'll do it now. That's okay.
Now we're back.
Excellent.
Now we're back in action. Need someone to know what to do. Right, well, I just go back on this and say I'm delighted with this report. It's a very good report presented by Mark today. But I would just like to bring to your knowledge one item, and that's on paragraph 215 on page 7. And this is objectives. And it says, ensure that the right tree is planted in the right place. And that's so important. How many times have we seen pavements ripped up both in housing estates, on the highways, and this has been the fact that the wrong tree has been planted. And I'm really delighted now that we're paying attention to the trees, and I hope that in the future we'll have a better Vale of Glamorgan. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwyn. So that's, and also Councillor Perks is online. Yes, there we are. No,
You're on mute.
we can't hear you.
Can she unmute her mic? She muted her microphone on the screen.
Could you unmute your microphone on the screen? No, it doesn't seem to want to work. Can you do sign language?
Can she take her headset out?
Yes, if you unplug your headset.
Can she unplug the headset from?
No, I think, will it unplug from the,
She needs to unplug the jack from her laptop. She took the headset off, but she didn't take the headphones out of her laptop. No, she
We're
needs to
still-
unplug the headphones from her laptop.
can you hear us now? No, but we can't hear her.
Liz, can you tell her to unplug the headphones from her laptop?
I did. Could you try unplugging your headset from your laptop? I think she already has, yes, because we mentioned that earlier. No, just, maybe she'll try and come back in again. Has she disconnected from the meeting?
No, she's still with us. She just needs to reactivate her speaker mic.
Could you just reactivate your speaker? I think it's the one in the middle and then the microphone next to it. Right, let's try now. We still haven't got a connection there.
She's got her headphones on, which means she must have them plugged into her laptop.
Yeah.
She needs to unjack it, take them off.
Could you?
I think she did that.
Yeah, I think so.
I saw her adjust the volume, but I didn't see her unjack it.
Right, no, she
Yeah,
has.
look, she's showing you.
Yeah.
Can she disconnect and come back into the meeting?
Would you like to disconnect from the meeting and come back in? We're happy to wait for you.
The leave button on the bottom left.
So if you do the leave button on the bottom left,
Without her headset in.
and leave your headset unattached. It all worked perfectly in the practices, didn't it? So do you want to actually leave? Press the button. That's it. If you actually, no, she hasn't disconnected.
She's not left. She's just turned her camera
off, so she hasn't left.
No.
Yeah. No, you need to switch. Turn your whole connection off.
Leave the meeting completely.
Leave the meeting completely by pressing
and rejoin.
and then rejoin. Right.
Take a second for it to reconnect.
Yeah. Oh, we're bound to get bits of glitches. Better that they're ironed out today when there aren't so many in the meeting. Yeah. Right. Fingers crossed. No. So have you pressed both the one in the middle and the one and unmuted the microphone?
She spoke at the beginning.
I'm just wondering if it's in the settings of the laptop.
It may be that as she connected at the beginning and it's connected to her laptop speaker and subsequently because she's plugged the headphones in,
Don't know. Has she got Teams open?
Have you
as
got
well?
Teams open on your laptop? Yes. No.
But she spoke to us at the beginning, so she.
Yes, you have
informed
been
her.
online.
Yeah.
Yes, she was online at the beginning
Mm.
of the meeting.
Would she like to put any comments in the chat and I can pass those
Would
on,
you
and
would
then
you
we
like
can
to
carry
put
on?
any comments in the chat, and the Democratic Services officers will pass them on to make sure that your comments are minuted? Has she found the chat?
Nothing come through yet, leader. I think would you like to take the next item and then come back with a decision
That's the
on this?
last item anyway, isn't it?
No, we've got one urgent.
Oh, gosh.
I heard noise there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful.
Oh, I don't know what I did. I think I just reset it or something. So I just wanted to agree with Councillor John, what he had to say about the tree strategy. I think it's a really important piece of work, and you know, planting the right trees in the right place. So that's all I wanted to say. Sorry, everybody. Thank you.
That's all right. It's good that we got it working ultimately, and there might be learning on that for other people in future meetings. So we'll try and work out what happened, and then we can hopefully prevent it happening again. So
I think it was a little bit of user error and a little bit of having to rejig it and stuff like that.
yeah, I think as we've moved towards hybrid meetings, most of the glitches have actually proven to be user errors, but that's not surprising when we're all learning something new, isn't it?
Yeah.
So no, I think the only comment I would make on this is the fact that I think most of us, as we walk around our wards, sort of look at the odd corner and say, well, you could get a couple of trees in there, couldn't you? Or is that an opportunity for a growing space? And we have to take into account that there could be utilities under there, so we can't do it everywhere. But obviously, the more we can, the more our communities can become green and pleasant places, hopefully.
I totally agree with you, Leader. And I think the great thing about this strategy is very wide. It's not just one department, it's the whole council. And the fact that we got 3 cabinet members here who have got responsibility for trees in different areas. And I think that's also very important here, because we can work very closely together and produce something that I think will stand the test of time. And I think, this really emphasised the importance of trees as assets to the Vale Glamorgan, and also our big fight against climate change.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So, Mark, you moved the recommendations. Bronwyn, I believe you seconded.
Yeah.
And from everything everyone said, I think we're all in agreement on that. So that's moved. Thanks, Gwyn. Super. So, going on to agenda item 13 is an urgent reference that I have agreed to take to this meeting, and that is a reference from Democratic Services Committee on the 27th of November. So this has been turned around in just 3 days. So thank you to our Democratic Services team. And this was when they discussed the hybrid meeting platform update at their meeting. And the committee had considered a report on the multi-location meetings policy back in July, and recommended to Cabinet the same for approval, subject to several amendments, including that scrutiny committees be included within the revised draft policy to be undertaken on a hybrid basis and broadcast live Cabinet considered that in September and noted that there was an increased level of complexity and resources required, which obviously had a knock-on cost benefit. And so it was decided to adopt that recommendation, but on a trial period of 6 months, so that we could see exactly what it was, see the resource implications, and that would obviously have to be looked at in relation to budget planning. And I think, as we've seen today, you know, we've had superb support from the Democratic Services team, but I don't know how we would afford this level of support at every single meeting. So the report that went to Democratic Services this week provided the committee with an update in relation to the implementation of the Easy Conference hybrid system for committee meetings, with committee also being informed that we were now in a position to bring in a phased approach, and that was outlined. So that starts with this today. We are the guinea pigs. Then it goes on to scrutiny committees, governance and audit, and planning committees during December and January. And then the full council special meeting on the 15th of January is planned to be a hybrid meeting. So there have been snagging, and as you will have noticed, as we've been using this for the first time, there have been officers tweaking the view, tweaking how it's worked, supporting members with equipment, etc. And you know, that will continue as we go through those series of meetings. We've all undergone, I think all now, still maybe a couple left, undergone training in this system, so hopefully we can minimize user error, but we can't discount it. So there's been it's been thoroughly tested before the soft launch, and also there is a great deal of complexity because, you know, we've also got headphones for Welsh language translation, as well as dealing with the screens for the meeting and potentially our laptops, etc., for reading our agendas. So as we move towards what we're hoping will happen in January is our first full council on a hybrid platform. It has become evident that there will have to be some changes in terms of the council chamber, because, you know, when you think of it, the last time we had a full council meeting, there were only 47 members. There are now 54. The chamber's dimension and shape poses a challenge in accommodating the maximum number of people, because we normally have council officers or directors, etc., present in a full council meeting, and the need to adhere to certain health and safety type regulations, Equalities Act, that sort of thing. So the committee discussed a range of options in terms of what could happen, and so to have sufficient sort of scale for all members and officers, etc., and the necessary you know, electrical, digital type connections, there could and sufficient furniture to accommodate everyone, there could potentially be a cost of approximately 136,000, and also a time taken for about 8 weeks to get that to happen. But then the other side of it was option F, which was to use the existing furniture, which we're all using today, in a layout that was compliant with health and safety and equalities legislation, and having space for key officers. And actually that would be a minimal cost of about 3,500 associated with electrical and minor repair works, and with a lead time of about 4 weeks. And the report that went to Democratic Services therefore proposed that option F be supported. And I think part of the thinking behind that is that at the moment we don't know how the hybrid system will work. We don't know how many of the 54 councillors will want to come in for every meeting. Early indications is that not all will. So why would we pay £136,000 at the moment when we have such budgetary pressures, when we don't actually know what we're dealing with? So the proposal was to select option F. So there was discussion, and I'm aware that Councillor Marnie stated that the chamber should have enough room to accommodate all members of the council, and I can understand that. It's one of those things about, but why would you pay 136,000 to have chairs that are empty? So it's a question of having a look at that. Councillor Haynes was of the view that all members of the council should be present in the chamber for council meetings. Well, actually, that is not covered in the legislation or in the multi-locations meetings policy, that there is no requirement for all members to be present. So that's not something that we have to do. Councillor Perks and Councillor Prothero, who were both members of the committee, both concurred with that. So before I go over to the recommendations, I can see that Gwyn wants to come in. Oops, you've just turned it off, Gwyn.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to mention, it's not just members. We've got council officers that fill many of the seats in the back row. So, I mean, there's not just 54. It's probably maybe up to another 12 to 16 added on top of that. So, the room has been full in the past when we had 47 councillors here. Now we got 54, and now I understand the Boundary Commission are talking changes again. If that happens, then gee whiz, where do we end?
Well, I think that those are considerations, and
Yep.
I think that the consideration for 136,000 would have involved different furniture, smaller furniture, and we have to look at how we get connections for our laptops, etc. I mean, I have to say that even if we went to the expensive option, all of this furniture would be used in committee rooms, which, that are working with. I think some of the furniture seems to have been there from when the council offices were open. It certainly matches the colour scheme. So, there wouldn't be wastage in that. But I still do question that how that level of expenditure at the moment could be justified on this. So we have to wait and see how many people. I mean, if it gets too full, I'll go up in my office and join from there, but that'll be all right. Anyway, Eddie, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. It was just a case of I was listening into the meeting, and it was quite interesting of the viewpoints, and the options were laid out were quite clear. That a couple of were discounted because of the health and safety issues. There's a recognition that the change, the way we're doing business has changed. We're using different technology, and as that comes with its own difficulties. And one of the factors was that if we can use IT, I for one don't use paper, so that I use my laptop all the time. And if I could guarantee that the meeting was only going to last a couple of hours, then I wouldn't need a lead to power my laptop. And it's things like that you just were having to add to the considerations. And the options were given. Thankfully, this option was one, and it's a trial, because what we do need to prove, as we're doing today, is the software that we can actually utilise it in a way that can be used for hybrid. And there's teething problems, but I think on the whole we're in the right direction. Like others, I would have liked this to be an instant fix, But the factors that we're trying to include on this software, such as the Welsh language translations and the microphones and everything else, is a bit more than what we used to do when we just sat there face to face. So I'm pleased that the committee recognised and went for the option F, which was the low cost to trial it, and then we can work out solutions in future for everybody to turn up if they so wish, which, as we've sensed, that's not the case. A classic example, we had a site meeting planning this morning. Not all members turned up for that, so it's just indicative that not everybody will turn up to all the meetings, in spite of some saying that they will. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got, Sandra, did you want to come on?
Oh, yes, thank you, Leader. I just wanted to say that, it was a really good discussion that we had. And as you rightly say, Councillor Prothero and myself felt that it is important, and we do have a trial period to actually ascertain, whether everybody can be in the chamber, whether they want to be in the chamber. We have to take into consideration councillors' personal circumstances as well, and other commitments that they have that I think come into into play before we spend over £100,000 on new furniture. So I think we need to ascertain how many members will be using the chamber itself. So that's why we felt it was important to have a trial period. Thank you.
Super, thank you. So the committee, oh sorry, Ruba, you're there as well. Everyone's coming in now. Oops, no, you're muted as well somehow.
No, am I okay now?
You're fine, thanks.
I apologise. Really, just to reiterate, Eddie and Sandra's last points, that in the end, we want to be as inclusive as possible, for all councillors from all walks of life, and that will mean that not everyone can be present in person at a meeting, and if there is one benefit to come out of COVID, it is the fact that we are moving forward on using IT to have meetings such as a cabinet meeting or a full council meeting, and a myriad of other meetings. So I think, as Eddie says, we're moving in the right direction, and there will be teething problems, and not everyone will like every solution, but the fact is we're moving forward, and I believe we are becoming a really inclusive council. So I for one wholeheartedly support that.
Super, thank you. So the Democratic Services Committee, they noted the progress to date, and they also recommended that option F be referred to Cabinet as the preferred option for hybrid public meetings. I would move that we agree their recommendation. And I think it's just all we have to do is agree, isn't it, on this one? Yes, so we will agree that recommendation, and that option then will be taken forward. And seeing as everybody wants to speak, who's going to be first to second it?
I'll formally second it for the record, Leader.
The Deputy Leader.
Just so we've got that on record.
Great, the Deputy Leader has formally seconded that. So that's our urgent item, agenda item 13. I don't have any part 2 items, and I don't have any part 2 items that are urgent either. So that brings the first hybrid meeting of the Vale Cabinet to a close. Thank you ever so much for your attendance. We got there in the end, and hopefully we'll be absolutely seamless next time. So thank you all. If you could just hang on until we check that the live stream has finished. Thank you all.